It all started when someone decided that Minecraft was too easy and he wanted someone to chase him down with murderous intent while performing the activity of killing the Ender Dragon without becoming deceased. At first there was a single hunter. Today, that amount has been multiplied by 4. People who ran out of ideas got impatient, so they pretended he was being chased down by 50 players. Others, maybe 100 players. One guy even did 100,000 players, although I saw through this deceiving illusion. But that begs the question, what is the maximum amount of hunters you can reasonably have in a single server, all while beating the game? This is a relatively crazy video that I spent too much time on, so remember to click the subscribe button an even amount of times. Today, we will be discussing the topic of the maximum amount of players in Minecraft Manhunt. The first limitation on the number of players in Minecraft Manhunt is the server itself. Now, you might say that Hypixel is a prime example of Minecraft servers, containing tens of thousands of players slaving away in Skyblock. But these players are split up into different lobbies, which is different from Minecraft Manhunt where everyone is supposed to be on the same lobby. So no, we can't just duplicate Hypixel servers for Minecraft Manhunt. Servers such as 2B2T can handle up to about 120 players. Mr. Beast was able to get up to 1,500 players in the same world. But we can go farther. The player count is limited by the amount of RAM the server has. Most players suggest 1 GB of RAM per 10 to 100 players, for a relatively lag-free experience. The amount of players that 1 GB of RAM can handle varies based on how many chunks that each player loads. There is a setting in multiplayer worlds called view distance, which is the radius around each player that chunks are loaded. The default value for this setting is 10. So if all 20 players of a server are in the same chunk, only 441 chunks on the server are loaded. But if all 20 players are very separated, 8,820 chunks are loaded. Let's take a look at the Mr. Beast and 2B2T example again. The players on Mr. Beast's server were all concentrated in a few chunks, so 1 GB of RAM was used per 100 players. But on more isolated servers such as 2B2T, people have estimated that 1 GB of RAM is used per 2 players. Minecraft Manhunt's RAM usage would vary depending on whether the hunted is about to get slaughtered by all of their friends, or if everyone is on their own getting resources. But we're talking about a server with hundreds of players. It's going to be very disorganized. Everyone is going to do their own thing, whether it's chasing the hunter or gathering resources. So I'd say 1 GB of RAM per 10 players is the average usage on Minecraft Manhunt. The world size is also an important factor. I was able to find an Ant Venom video on the theoretical maximum file size of a world, but it was on a different version. So I decided to use his method but on 1.16. Generating 97,344 chunks in each dimension took up 1.78 GB. There are 14 trillion chunks in a fully generated world, so the approximate amount of space taken up by a fully generated world, in all 3 dimensions, would be about 256 petabytes. Now, why would you use a fully generated Minecraft world for Minecraft Manhunt? I will explain later in the video. It is also worth mentioning that due to the limitations of human technology, storing 256 petabytes on a single computer is impossible. To fix this catastrophe, the end in Nether Dimension will not be fully generated. This is because the Nether Dimension compresses distances by 8, and the main island of the end is the only area used in Minecraft Manhunt. Here are some boring calculations that were too boring to be added. So now we know that a semi-fully generated world takes 100 petabytes of disk space and a gigabyte of RAM is required for 10 players on average. On average, gaming enthusiasts, otherwise referred to as sweats, have only 1 terabyte of disk space and maybe 8 gigabytes of RAM. So, we will need some extreme gaming equipment to play Minecraft Manhunt. Luckily, such a thing exists. Now introducing the most powerful supercomputer in existence, known as Fugaku. with 150 petabytes of storage and 5.5 petabytes of memory. This is more than enough to fit the semi-fully generated Minecraft world, and enough for 55 million players playing at the same time, which is 550 times more than Hypixel's peak player count, and nearly the entire population of Italy. The issue is no longer about the number of players that the server can handle, but the number of players your PC can handle. The average computer starts freezing after a few thousand entities, or maybe a few 10,000 entities are spawned. For now, let's say the most amount of players that both the supercomputer and computers of the players can handle is 10,000, which is a stretch. Now, I would end the video here, but that's boring. A 10,000 player Minecraft Manhunt sounds pretty lame compared to what we could have, so let's fast forward a few years. Let's say that some extreme scientist finds a way to handle infinite entities without any issues in the Minecraft 1.17 update. And now everyone can handle an unlimited amount of entities. Let's also assume that the server has an infinite bandwidth and can handle all of the player connections. In that case, the maximum amount of players in Minecraft Manhunt will be 55 million players. But we are only scratching the surface. The most powerful supercomputer has a computing power of 442 quadrillion flops. The power of supercomputers is measured by a unit of measurement known as flops, instead of the amount of memory it has. Flops measure how many calculations per second that something can handle. For example, the human brain has a computing power of 0.5 flops. Most of the supercomputers so far, for decades, have 1 to 100 flops per bit of memory. Now, you can't just realistically cover the planet in supercomputers so you can play Minecraft Manhunt with billions of people. Instead, there is this thing called the Matryoshka brain. Similar to a Dyson sphere, it is a giant object circling the sun that harnesses its energy to do computing. And similar to a Matryoshka doll, it comes in layers, each one absorbing different amounts of energy from the sun. Such an object is capable of quintillions of operations per second, and is therefore able to handle a Minecraft Manhunt on a universal scale. In such a hypothetical gaming setup, let's imagine that all 4 billion people with internet access are interested in Minecraft Manhunt. And they are all hooked up to the giant gaming sphere surrounding the sun that is hosting the Minecraft world. Everyone would be lagging, not because of a lack of memory, but because signals take 8 minutes to send between the players and the server. Minecraft Manhunt videos hosted on a Matryoshka brain would probably be a few hours long. Which is a good thing for ad revenue. Speaking of ad revenue, can we hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year without utilization of non-human entities, otherwise known as subscription bots? Thank you. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. An issue related to Minecraft Manhunt is that there are only 7 billion humans on planet Earth. But that is no issue. Due to advances in medicine and the fact that nobody is really dying to diseases all over the world right now, the human population is able to grow extremely fast. By 2100, the human population would be approaching 11 billion people, and more people would undoubtedly have internet access due to computers being more accessible to people around the globe. A few millennia later, assuming that everyone hasn't died already from nuclear warfare and Mojang hasn't gone out of business yet, let's say that humans are able to travel at the speed of light, colonizing the entire Milky Way. Humanity has probably evolved into different species at this point. Quadrillions of humans and probably even quintillions of humans have spread across the billions of habitable planets in the galaxy. Now this is where the fully generated Minecraft world comes into play. Assuming that 1 quadrillion humans have colonized the Milky Way galaxy, and they are all playing Minecraft Manhunt, that's an average of 1.1 players per square on the overworld. For every single square within world boundary. And if each player mined about 64 blocks, the entire Minecraft world would be destroyed. It will be nearly impossible to get resources, and you would be lucky to get even a single piece of iron armor. Playing a galactic game of Minecraft Manhunt with quadrillions of players hunting down a single person would be catastrophic. Assuming that the server is still hosted on the Sun and the players are evenly spread throughout the galaxy, players would experience connection issues that have never been experienced before. If you live on the opposite side of the galaxy than the Sun, it would take tens of thousands of years before your signal is sent to the server. Players around the Milky Way would be thousands of years of progress ahead or behind other players. Some of the players you are looking at might have already passed away from old age due to how long the signal took to transmit to the server. Also, the countless gas clouds, stars, and other nonsense in between the player and the server would probably mess around with the signal. You might have to build trillions of satellites to transmit the signals for a fully functional manhunt. Overall, all this effort is not worth the Minecraft Manhunt. But we have not reached the final limit yet. Since there are 3.6 quadrillion spaces on the surface of the overworld, and the default entity cramming limit is 24 entities, the maximum amount of players you can have in Minecraft Manhunt without people suffocating everywhere is 86 quadrillion players. But assuming you turn off the entity cramming limit, the next limit on the amount of players is 12.7 septillion, which is the number of possible Minecraft account usernames. Since you can't create an account with a username that's already taken, and the maximum username length is 16, and the number of possible characters you can have in a username is 37, the maximum amount of Mojang accounts in existence is 12.7 septillion. But that's far above the population capacity of the local group. And due to dark energy pushing other universal bubbles away from us, it will be impossible for humans to escape the local group due to quantum fluctuations at the beginning of the universe growing to intergalactic voids that separate us from colonizing the universe. So we'll use the cap of 86 quadrillion players. Now, how exactly would you beat the game with 86 quadrillion players chasing you? Since the majority of the game lives thousands of light years away from the server, about 99.9999% of the players would be frozen for years. The remaining percentage, which would be the 7 billion people living on Earth, would be dispersed around the 60 million by 60 million world. That's an average of 1 Earth player per region of 700 by 700 blocks. You should be safe for a while. The most amount of players that would be chasing you is probably a few hundred people. But due to the ping being about 8 minutes, nobody is going to know what is going on, so the hunter would probably get away easily. Do not worry about the extra 86 quadrillion players. They can't touch you. So, to wrap it up, the maximum amount of players is 86 quadrillion players. And it's possible to beat the game with that many players because of the insanely high ping due to the limitations of the speed of light. It would probably take hours or even days to beat the game. But the question isn't how to do it. The question is, should you do it? This trend is painfully milked into oblivion. Hundreds of people think they will instantly get famous by putting dream in their title, and only a few of them will prevail. So, what is the moral of this story? I don't know. Remember to